So can you tell us how did you got started with Airbnb?
So we originally started with managing long-term tenant properties for owners who generally live out of town and or out of province. We were having issues finding some good quality tenants for one of the vacant units, and between us and the owners, we decided to give Airbnb a try. So that unit launched January 27th of 2022, and since then it has had 5 days of vacancy.
January this year.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. You told me you have about 4 listings, right? Do you own all of them?
I don't own any of the listings. So all of our clients are investors. They generally invest in the property. We manage everything. So we turn their Airbnb into a passive income for them.
Oh, so you don't run these Airbnbs as like personally? Are you part of a company?
I own a business, yes.
You own a business. Oh, that's great. Can you tell us a little more about your business? How did this started and everything?
Absolutely. So long story short, we're from the Hamilton area. We started the Spotless Samurai, which is a cleaning service. With dealing with multiple property management companies down south, we started doing Airbnb turnover cleanings. Right around before the pandemic hit, we moved up north to North Bay. At that point, we transitioned from just cleaning to managing not only Airbnbs, but long-term tenanted properties. So at that point, it felt right to open up Savvy Shores Property Mgmt and Co-Hosting. So now we manage and take care of Airbnbs and tenanted properties.
Okay, so right now under your management, you have only those 4 listings, or do you have more?
No, so those 4 listings we co-host completely. There are other listings that we build the Airbnb profile for our clients. We set their guest rules, we build their guest books. We're speaking with a client right now in New Brunswick. They want their Airbnb listing set up out there, so we're working on that.
I see, that's great. And can you tell us more about the services you offer in this business?
Absolutely. So when it comes to Airbnbs, like I said, we like to make it a passive income for our investors. Most of our investors are generally very, very busy. They don't just own one property. They own multiple properties all over the world. So what we do is we take care of all our guest communications. We take care of our guest screening. We can go in, we can provide renovations or oversee those renovations before the listing gets started. We stage them, we clean them. We also offer listing optimization. So some clients have Airbnbs that maybe they're not getting as many bookings as they'd like. So we can sit there, go through their listing, give them some tips on what we suggest to try to get more bookings, because at the end of the day, you want the highest occupancy rate as you can.
That's great. And can you give us like an example of how did you achieve some occupancy rate increasing in some of your client listings?
So our biggest thing is the more amenities you offer your guests, the higher your nightly rate can be. So at the end of the day, you know, a lot of our properties up here in North Bay are waterfront. So guests want to come to a waterfront property. They want to be able to use a kayak, a canoe, maybe some lawn games. So at the end, you know, they don't want to have to bring their own linens and towels. They're already traveling with enough things. So we find that most of these properties that are having issues with occupancy rates, their amenities just aren't quite there. And also updating is very, very important, right? So a lot of guests want to go to a rustic cottage feel, but they still want to have, you know, a nice updated fresh bathroom and, you know, those kinds, and kitchens.
So you would say that those are the main amenities that could work for listings in the North Bay area?
Absolutely, because like I said, North Bay is a lot of waterfront properties. So at the end of the day, the guests want to be able to have activities that they can do outside or things that they can do on the water. If there's a kayak or a canoe, they can go fishing, they can paddle out to, you know, one of the neighboring islands and explore. It just provides a lot more things for the guests to do when they come.
That's great. And can you tell us a little bit about the area? Do you only co-host or offer your services for listings in the North Bay area, or do you go to other places as well?
So when it comes to co-hosting, like to be a local co-host, it does have to be in North Bay within a 100-kilometer radius. So with being a local co-host, we offer emergency calls. So if there's a problem with the cottage, the guest needs assistance with anything, or there's an emergency call to the cottage, we're close enough that we're able to attend right away for our owners, because generally they live at least 4 to 5 hours away. And when it comes to online hosting, we can do that virtually where we are for anywhere in the world. So if clients just want us to screen their guests, to schedule their bookings, to send their cleaners the schedule of when the turnovers need to be done, we can do that here anywhere around the world.
That's great. And what kind of can your clients expect to be involved in any of these? Like, can they make suggestions? You work with them and stuff like that?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing in this business is communication and compromise. So everybody has differing opinions as to what's going to work, what's going to be best. So I think it's very important to listen to what your clients want and need. And at the end of the day, to come to a compromise where not only us Savvy Shores are happy with how the listing's turning out, but that the clients are also happy. So some of our clients choose to be very involved within their Airbnbs. Other clients choose to have, they take a back seat and choose to have us take control over it.
I see. That's great. Can you tell us a little bit more about how do you manage pricing for all these listings? I can imagine you manage like different end listings, like they have, I don't know, different amenities, they are different type of listings. How does a company like you manage pricing for these listings?
So generally what we do is we start with the general vicinity. So we just did one in Barry's Bay not too long ago. Myself nor my husband and co-owner Kevin have ever been to Barry's Bay. So at the end of the day, you figure out what your occupancy rate for the cottage that you're listing, you figure out what amenities you're offering, and then you go on Airbnb and you try to find comparable cottages based on those. And then from there, you can find kind of a starting rate. Obviously, you know, if you're searching and you find that other cottages don't have the amenities that you have and you have way more, then your nightly rate can go up. So it's a balance game between having a low enough nightly rate that you're getting bookings, but you still want it high enough that, you know, you're also happy with the income that you're generating.
Do those listings work in the high season in your area versus the low season? Like, what's the occupancy rate in those seasons there?
So generally our on season is from May 30th, so June 1st to about September 30th. In those seasons, you can see an occupancy rate of at least 90 to 95%. Right now, we're seeing a higher occupancy rate, so there's not many cottages in the area that have full weeks available in the summer. Most are completely fully booked. So it's good for new owners who are opening Airbnbs in North Bay, because at the end of the day, we don't have enough cottages for the people looking to get away, and your nightly rate can increase. In the off season, North Bay has a lot of access to skiing, downhill skiing, cross-country skiing, ice fishing, snowmobiling trails everywhere. So we find the occupancy rate is at least 60 to 70% in the off season, which is still pretty good. And sometimes it's higher depending on how you market your listing. If you market it to those people who want to come up here in the winter, you're going to see a higher occupancy rate.
Yeah, those are still good numbers during low season. I agree on that. And how about their revenue? What is there an average number they can expect, like either monthly or annual revenue number they can expect when they hire your services?
So that depends on multiple items. So our cottages who have an occupancy rate of 6 guests are going to obviously have a much lower nightly rate of an occupancy of 12 to 14 guests. So at the end of the day, the revenue is all based on their occupancy rate, the amenities that they provide, and then how much we think that they can get nightly. So I can't give you a general idea because at the end of the day, it differs from cottage to cottage. Some cottages are getting, you know, $200 a night. Some cottages are getting upwards of $850 a night.
Yeah, those are good numbers, but can your clients expect for their revenue to rise with your services?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You
Can
broke
your
up.
client expect for your revenue, for their revenue, sorry, numbers to rise with your management?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So at the end of the day, our number one concern, aside from keeping the guests happy, because that's where your reviews come from, is ensuring that the customers are not only making money, but that they can see a considerable increase between the long-term tenants that, you know, maybe they're used to seeing and the shorter-term tenants, which are more through Airbnb.
I see. And now that you've mentioned Airbnb, do you only manage for listings that are on Airbnb, or do you also do other platforms like VRBO or Booking.com?
We do. If our clients request us to do so, we will. As of right now, Airbnb seems to be the quickest place to get bookings. At this point, we haven't felt the need to reach out to other booking websites to fill our occupancy rates.
Okay, that's great. And there was another question I wanted to ask. Okay, so if you can share this, can you tell us about what would be the average cost of your service, either for co-hosting, like online co-hosting or in-person co-hosting?
So generally, if someone was to hire us to be a local co-host, which means we're available for emergency calls, I'm going to base it off the Savvy Shores taking care of all of the listings. So this owner wants this as a passive income. You're looking at about 17 to 19% of the nightly rate is the equivalency of our charges for that. Now, obviously, if we're doing this virtually and we're not a local co-host, we're going to have somebody else who's close who can take care of it. So at that point, our percentage goes down closer to like 13 or 14%, because at that point, we're just dealing with the online aspects of it, making sure we screen your guests, schedule your cleanings, and leave your guest reviews, send their pre-check-in messages, checkout messages.
So is it like more, how do you say, would you recommend people to hire a company like yours for managing their short-term rentals than doing it themselves?
I love that question. So Savvy Shores is all about responsible ownership and co-hosting. We all know that there's short-term rental bans happening all over Ontario. And I think at the end of the day, the biggest issue with that is owners are not having property managers who are close by who can keep an eye on the cottage. A lot of owners, like I said, live hours and hours away. They don't know if their guests are partying, if their guests are bothering their neighbors. And I think at the end of the day, neighbor relations are very, very important. You don't want your neighbors being bothered by, you know, unruly guests. So I think, you know, screening your guests and making sure that you have somebody close makes a big difference when it comes to owning an Airbnb. You can't just rent it out and hope for the best. You need to make sure that there's somebody there overseeing your investment and ensuring that everything is running smoothly.
That's right. And was that a common problem before your company started working? Like they used to have problems with the neighbors out there?
Yeah, so what we've learned and how Savvy Shores kind of came to be is up north, we are lacking good property management, both long-term rentals and short-term rentals. So a lot of small municipalities in the area are banning short-term rentals completely because the neighbors are getting frustrated with different people coming up all the time. And I don't even think it's different people. I think it's the quality of guests. So yeah, the whole goal of an Airbnb is to make money. But at the same time, you want to do so responsibly, because if we continue to rent out these Airbnbs irresponsibly, how many more restrictions and, you know, Airbnb lockdowns are we going to have?
Yeah, I'm aware of that. And for your area, North Bay, are there any laws or regulations for short-term rental?
There is no laws or regulations in North Bay. Some of the surrounding communities do have restrictions against Airbnb. Personally, us at Savvy Shores, we feel every Airbnb owner and co-host should be licensed. I feel that everybody should follow the same sets of policies, rules, and regulations straight across the board. And this again goes for long-term owners as well, not just short-term. So I think if there were policies and procedures straight across the board, there would be a lot more responsible Airbnb ownership and management.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with that. And lastly, if you can share this with us, I would like to just hear a number. What would be the highest revenue someone could get there in North Bay? Like having, I don't know, you put the type of listing and like being managed by you or by a company like yours.
It all depends. So you could bring in anywhere between 200,000 upwards of $1 million, depending on your listing, your amenities you provide, and how you market it.
Okay, that's great. That's a good number, actually.
Yeah, so there's a lot of variables up here, and like I said, there's a huge price range. So it's kind of nice because there's a lot of different cottages in the area.
So would you say it's not that competitive right now?
It is absolutely very competitive right now. So if you're looking in North Bay to rent a cottage, it is few and far between to find anything in the summer that is available either for a weekend or a week.
Okay, yeah, I see, I understand completely. So lastly, if you like some time to advertise your company, you can do it right now.
Perfect, thank you. My name's Renee and I own Savvy Shores Property Management and Co-hosting Services. We are located in North Bay. To be a local co-host, we do service North Bay and surrounding area up to 100 kilometers. If you are outside of our service area, we are still able to offer co-hosting services virtually. That means communicating with your guests, booking your cleaners, as well as sending out your welcome messages, checkout messages, and answering any questions that your guests may need. If you would like to give us a call, 905-979-3663.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for your time. That's it for today.
Thank you.